Hi, it's your friend Phil, project management trainer and coach. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a major aspect of the project management body of knowledge guide. I'm talking specifically about the PMBOK guide mainline. We'll be taking a look at the landscape of the PMBOK guide at an extremely high level and very rapidly. Now, as I proceed through the content, if any questions arise, feel free to chat them in on the right-hand side of your screen. The PMBOK Guide mainline was put together a few years back in 2015 when I had some students from Spotsylvania County, Virginia taking the exam. I decided to firm up their understanding by creating a series of data flows for them to understand the PMBOK Guide in more detail. Well, that first data flow evolved, and since then, thousands of students worldwide have used the PMBOK Guide mainline. That's what I call it, because I see this as a mainline flowing through the PMBOK Guide. And once you can master the key concept of the mainline, you will be laughing all the way to the score bank on the PMP or the CAPM exam. So welcome to the PMBOK Guide mainline. The PMBOK Guide mainline cuts across all of the different knowledge areas. It's a web of understanding, cutting across outputs becoming inputs, outputs again from those processes becoming inputs to others. Now, before we dive into the core essence of the PMBOK Guide mainline, it is quite important for us to discuss some overarching concepts in the PMBOK Guide. These overarching concepts may be elementary to some people, but I would encourage anyone getting ready for the PMP exam to begin to familiarize themselves with these core relationships that I'm about to show. Now, these relationships are like the 101 of the PMBOK Guide. The main line is taking it up a notch to combine these relationships into a larger web of relationships. So let's get into what I call the 101, the very basics that I expect people taking the PMP exam to be aware of. So let's start off from ground zero. Let's start off from the very elementary aspects of the PMBOK Guide. For me, ground zero would be understanding the very first process in the PMBOK Guide. The very first process is called Develop Project Charter. Develop Project Charter gives you the project charter as an output. Now, let's explore what exactly happens here. So, in Develop Project Charter, we see that there is going to be an output called the project charter. So your project charter comes out of this process and it goes into a bunch of places. Now, all of these places where the project charter is going, I expect you to know that. If you take a look at the larger landscape here, You can see I'm about to indicate my project charter going to some important places. And the two places I would like to accentuate are one, the develop project management plan process. So you have a process, develop project management plan. And you also have a process known as identify stakeholders. This to me is the 101 of project management in the PMBOK guide. Understanding what exactly is coming out of a place and where it's going. You see, so your project charter, again, same output, going to a different process. See that? All right. Now, another important relationship that people often forget in the 6th edition is how the developed project management plan process creates some feedback into an initiating process. It's quite rare. It's never happened in the PMBOK guide before, but the PMI tell you that your project management plan, and I'll show you the larger landscape in a minute. The project management plan is an input to identify stakeholders. So this feedback loop going back into initiating is one that you do not want to miss. Project Charter feeds a bunch of processes, okay? If we really wanted to have a party with this thing, we would go to town and have many other processes represented here, such as plan. And when I say plan X management, I'm talking about all of those subsidiary planning processes where X is the knowledge area. So I'm talking about plan scope management. I'm talking about plan schedule management. I'm talking about plan cost management. Plan quality management. You see where I'm going with this? Plan resource management. You see how it quickly becomes a web of relationships. Plan communications management. Plan risk management. Plan procurement management as well. And plan stakeholder management. Now, this is pretty much all of the processes where we are developing a subsidiary plan. All of these processes will receive the project charter as well. As an input. You see that? So your project charter feeds a lot of processes, and we've only just started. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning, because your project charter also goes to develop project management plan, like I've shown you, and it also goes to close project or phase. And then it also goes to where you're defining scope. It also goes to where you're collecting requirements. This is a huge document. This is a very important document for your PMP exam. So you do not want to lose track of the interactions here. Remember, this is the 101 of your PMP exam prep. So before we begin showing you a few other places, make sure you get a handle of this. Project charter goes to develop project management plan. It also goes to identify stakeholders, also in initiating, and it goes to wherever you're creating a subsidiary plan. Okay, now you've got that. Let's zoom in to this picture one more time. And let's show a couple more relationships that will help you as you study for the exam. One very important place that you should not forget the project charter goes is also in integration. And that process is close project or phase. So close project or phase is also going to receive this project charter as an input. See that? Very important relationship to remember. Now, why do we have the project charter going there? Because it tells us if our project indeed has been a success or not. It's one of these key inputs to closing out the project. Because right from the get-go, if you did this right, you should have specified in your project charter the key criteria for project success. And if you had defined that up front, well, at the end of the project, you need to check into it. So there is a reason why the PMI lists things like your project charter as an input to something in closing. All the way down in closing, all the way on the other end of the spectrum, we have our project charter going in because it's relevant. So again, let's look at the landscape. These are core relationships. Now, like I said earlier, we also have the project charter going into processes of scope management because the project charter contains your high-level scope. Some of your high-level deliverable description information could actually be in the charter. So another key relationship that I would like you to get straight is the way the project charter goes into processes of scope. This is very important. Now, I know we have plan scope management over here, but don't lose sight of the fact that two very important processes in scope need the project charter. And these two very important processes are the collecting of requirements and also defining scope. So I'm just going to have two boxes here, one for define scope and one for collect requirements. And just imagine again a loop going all the way from here into this and that. And again, you have your project charter going into those. So collect requirements and define scope. So why do I take the project charter so seriously? I take it seriously, folks, because on the PMP exam, or even the CAPM exam, the project charter carries weight. On the PMP exam, and let me just show you the full landscape so you can see this thing in full. The project charter is part of initiating, and initiating is 13% of the exam, 13% of the exam. So if initiating is 13% of the exam, the project charter is half of that, right? That is 6.5%. Did I just say that backwards? Develop project charter, 6.5% of the exam. Identify stakeholders, also potentially 6.5% of the exam. And close project or phase, also in integration along with develop project charter, is 7% of the exam. So your project charter is central to a lot of stuff that happens in planning. It is a powerhouse of a document, folks. And I tell project managers, if you don't have a charter on your project, you're not doing it right. You should get a project charter into existence. You should be working with your sponsor because that is the foundation that everything else rests on. See? So this is the very beginnings of what I call the PMBOK guide mainline. If you can understand, my project charter comes out and it goes to develop project management plan, identify stakeholders, all of the Plan X management processes, and the first 3 processes of scope. Hey, I just dropped some gold for you there. The first 3 processes of scope also need the project charter. And close project or phase is also going to devour the project charter. It needs it. These processes need the charter. So feed the processes. I hope I've made myself clear. Okay, now we've got this out of the way. Now you can see the picture. Now you understand how the project charter fuels lots of stuff. Let's jump into the next stage of the PMBOK guide mainline. So the PMBOK guide mainline is vast. It cuts across a lot of areas, and I'm glad you've seen a very base idea of how the project charter feeds lots of these processes. And you're going to see the project charter in a few minutes in the actual PMBOK guide mainline. So again, if you're just joining, don't forget, chat questions in. This is why we have these regular touch points to help answer questions that people have for the PMP exam or the CAPM exam. So if you have any questions, do us both a favor. Chat them in. You never know how many people are going to benefit. You never know how many people are going to benefit from, say, hey. Before you start shooting down your own question, let me let you know no question is a dumb question. I get people saying, Phil, I'm sorry to ask such a dumb question, but hey, no question is a dumb question. All right, so drop your questions as they come up. All right, so let's take a look at what we have here on the screen. It states events leading up to defect discovery and deliverable rejection in quality control. Now, let me explain that I don't get hung up, folks, on what the PMI calls certain processes, because I've been through 7 PMI exams, and one thing I can tell you, they may or may not explicitly, you see, name the process. Seriously, they may or may not. In some instances, you might have a question where the process is described. You see, the process is described, and you're wondering, what could this be? They're not using explicit terms. So if I say quality control, of course you know I mean control quality. The line of best fit, you're going to have to use that on the PMP exam, because a lot of times you'll have some cryptic definitions, some cryptic phrases where you are just going to have to decode, okay, I think they're talking about this. You're going to have to take the line of best fit and you're going to have to get used to it. You know, on some exams, they'll be so in your face. They'll be in your face telling you stuff that is not a process, but it's almost like a challenge. They're almost telling you, bring it on. Let's see if you can answer this one. Zinging you with all sorts of cryptic phrases, but you got to have to slow down. Let me give you an example. You're working on a process whereby you derive a document in which you capture misunderstandings and misalignments in the project. What is an output of that? A, project charter. B, change request. C, work performance report. And D, final report. You see, what did I just define? I just defined a process where you are documenting misalignments and misunderstandings. What are those? Those are issues. Where do they go? The issue log. So we're talking about a process where we get an issue log. Where do we get the issue log from? Well, go figure out. You should know this if you're getting ready for the exam. The process that gives you the issue log also gives you something else. Does it give you the project charter or the final report or the work performance report or change request? You see, it gives you a change request. I'm talking about direct and managed project work. You see, so questions may not be a direct verbatim process name cutout from the PMBOK guide. You're going to have to decrypt whatever they serve you. And that's pretty much what I want you to bear in mind. It's not always going to be explicit. This is the process they're talking about. All right, let's move into events leading up to defect discovery and deliverable rejection and quality control. Obviously, control quality. So this is an overarching principle in the world of the PMBOK guide. The direct and managed project work is giving you an output. And it's not the issue log that I just mentioned, and it's not WPD, which also comes from this, that I want to hone in on. I'm honing in on the major reason why you're running this project. You're running this project to get an output. But as you're running this project to get this output, you don't just get the output from the other end of the conveyor belt, so to speak, or from your development team. Something needs to happen before that deliverable is produced if you're doing it the right way. If you're doing it the right way, you need to be checking the process to make sure people are indeed following the process. So if they are following the process, you've just accomplished an audit through managed quality. So a deliverable is being produced, but before the deliverable is produced, folks, you better be doing your managed quality. You better be assuring the customer that quality standards are being met. You better be managing the business of the quality. Because if you're not, things slip through the cracks. You're not optimizing your processes. You're not improving on your processes that you found to be weak. You're going to have trouble. So managed quality needs to be happening, regardless what you're trying to create. Could be a product of a conveyor belt. It could be software. It could be a service. It could be delivering some result. It could be a lab experiment. Whatever it is, you want to make sure your managed quality is happening. And just in case you didn't know, the code name for managed quality is quality assurance. It's even in the PMBOK guide. They took it up a notch because things such as DFX were added. But if you really wanted to hone in on the core essence of managed quality, you want to assure customers, stakeholders, that those quality standards are being met, and you also want to manage the business of quality. So, your deliverables are produced. What happens? Those deliverables don't just go to the customer. They need to go to your QC team, your quality control team. Your quality control team is taking a look at those deliverables. The lady on the conveyor belt is checking the deliverables through the tool and technique known as inspection. You see? So inspection is happening here. Inspecting those deliverables to make sure that indeed what you promised is what you have created. So, what comes out on the other end if there is a discrepancy between what was planned to be created or delivered and what was delivered? Think about it. Have you come up with an answer yet? I'm waiting. Hey, chat into me. Are you awake? My friends in places like Bahrain, did I pronounce that right? My friends in Saudi, in Oman. Hey, I know you're awake. I know you're out there. My friends in Africa, you're meant to be awake by now. My friends in the United Kingdom, Sweden, France, Germany, wherever you are. Hey, I know the folks in the US are asleep, so I know it's you out there. I know these tricks. Those folks in New York, they're fast asleep. The folks in Ohio and Texas, they better be getting their sleep on if they got work in the morning. Ain't no long weekend this time. So why don't you chat into me? Hey, I know you're out there. I know you're absorbing the brain power that your birdie Phil is putting out. So why don't you tell me what happens if we find a defect in control quality? Rajda, thank you very much for chatting in. And Rajda saved the day, and your friend Phil appreciates you. Thank you very much for your participative communication. I love it when people participate because communication, communication models, two-way street, sender receiver models. So thank you, Rajta. And you said leads to defects and rejection. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. We're going to have some rejection. Now, in the PMBOK guide, they mask what happens with the word change. But we know it's a rejection. You ain't fooling us, PMI. We know it's a change request, but it's a rejection of the deliverable. So thank you, Rajda. Right on the money. Now, this change request is going to take a trip to a process called Perform Integrated Change Control. See? And in Perform Integrated Change Control, this is where the change control board, if there is one, will be involved in reviewing the change request. So the lady on the conveyor belt finds something wrong. There's a big old change request for it. The change control board reviews the change request. Perhaps it's the project manager and the sponsor in some other firm. And on your exam, folks, it will be very clear what exactly the dynamic is. If there is a change control board, they'll let you know. If there is no change control board, they'll let you know. The dynamic is still pretty similar. Change request goes to the responsible authority. In this case, let's say it's a change control board. You can see them shuffling their papers. What are we going to get as an output? If the change control board does approve of this change request, Tell me. Rajta said, a rejected defect needs to be fixed. Thank you very much. That's exactly what's going to go down here, Rajta. I appreciate your kind words and I appreciate your communication. So you're right. So this thing needs to be fixed. So what happens if the change control board says, great catch. How much will it cost to fix? It's going to cost 500,000, you know. We got a brand new consignment of these parts from our friends down in Japan, and now we've installed all of them wrong. They cannot be uninstalled and still be intact. We're going to have to pull them out, and that's going to destroy this widget. So we're going to have to buy a new batch of widgets from our friends in Japan. Change control board says, okay, our customer wants this final product in the next 2 weeks. If they say yes, you're going to end up having an approved change request. And like Rajta just said, this defect needs to be fixed. It's in direct and managed project work that we have 3 big possibilities. We could have corrective action, we could have preventive action, and we could have defect repair. In this case, we've got a defect. It's too late to go preventive here, project manager. We got a defect. Too late to do corrective action as well. So we're going to take that approved change request, and that is going to become an input to direct and manage project work. You see that? Now, folks, bear in mind something else could be happening when you've got an approved change request. And I don't want you to lose sight of this because you'll see this as a recurring theme throughout the PMBOK guide. You know, those sneaky little project management plan updates and project documents updates that you see. Guess where they are in theory affected? It's through the approved change request going back into direct and manage project work. So when we talk about corrective action, we're talking about activities that realign the performance of the project work with the PMP, the project management plan. When we talk about defect repair, we're talking about being intentional to modify a non-conforming deliverable, such as the one this lady just checked. So there's a bunch of things that are encapsulated in approved change request, folks. You got corrective action, preventive action, defect repair, and updates. Don't forget that. All right. So this could be a revolving nightmare of sorts. Hey, it could be the return of Chucky. You know, they're bringing that creature back for another series on TV or something crazy like that. This could be a revolving nightmare in someone's life. But look. This is a very important one as well. The approved change request also needs to go back into control quality. And I'm going to explain why on this next slide. So here, let's take a look at events leading up to defect discovery and verify deliverable rejection in validate scope. So this is how it all goes down. The deliverable we know is being created, but at the same time, managed quality is happening in the background. What do we get out of direct and managed project work? We get deliverables. Those deliverables are going where? 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 Do you remember? Control quality. Good. Lady on the conveyor belt checks again. This time, bingo, we hit the jackpot. We got it right. Everyone's happy and out comes a verified deliverable. A verified deliverable is a deliverable that has passed the control quality process, in that it's been inspected and it's passed the test. Now, my friends out there, can you tell me? Verified deliverable becomes an input to a project management process. Do you guys know which process it is that verified deliverable goes to as an input? If your PMP exam is today, surely you know this. Hey, if your project management professional exam is today, I expect you to be chilling, taking it easy. Maybe your exam's in the next 2 or 3 days. Maybe it's not today. But a shout out to my students whose exams are coming up today and later on this week. I really wish you all the best. But anyway, verified deliverable becomes an input to where your customer is going to be checking it. That process is known as validate scope. In validate scope, we're going to open up that box in the world of the customer, that is. The customer has an end user, Billy. Billy's going to be testing that kite because that's what's in the box. Billy's testing the kite. Uh-oh, there's something wrong. Billy does not like the feel of that kite. That kite can barely fly 10 feet, let alone 50. There is a problem. Billy is mad. He doesn't like the kite. Throws it on the floor. Pitches a fit. Gets mad and says, I don't like what I've got. You guys have messed this up. And Deepak saved the day by chatting in validate scope. Thank you very much, Deepak. And Deepak is absolutely correct. And Deepak, what happens if Billy is mad, pitching a fit, is upset that the kite is not working as he thought it should? Hey, Billy probably wants to conduct some experiments with lightning. He needs that kite to go high in the air, you know. So what's going to happen? Billy's mad. We thought we got it right. Customer says, no, you didn't get it right. What's going to happen? In the world of the PMI, they don't use the word rejected deliverable. They use the word CR, change request. So you're going to get a change request, folks. Again, going to perform integrated change control. Change control board takes a look at it. Say, oh dear, there had to be something wrong. Billy and his cohorts are great customers of ours. We need to get this right. We're going to approve this. It's going to take another 500K to get some other set of widgets. Now we're talking about several different things we're trying to do for this customer. It's all adding up. But anyway, let's go ahead. Let's approve this thing. Let's put in this approval. Project manager is going to take this status of the change request. And as you go through this, folks, I don't want you to lose this train of thought that the approved change request also needs to be documented. It needs to be documented in one of those pesky sub outputs. It's one of those very important sub outputs that falls under the ubiquitous project documents that we see almost everywhere in the processes across the PMBOK guide. So as you're putting in your change request, just remember a change log is capturing what the change request is and the evolution of that change request. Okay? Bear that in mind. Thank you, Rajda. So Rajda has chatted that in again. And we have this, folks. The approved change request going back to control quality. Why? So that on the next go round, Lily, the lady on the conveyor belt, is going to check that revised deliverable against the approved change request to make sure that indeed we got Billy's request for change implemented and now inherent in the deliverable. So last cycle, events leading up to deliverable acceptance and transition to the customer. So again, direct and manage project. Well, you got to love this process, folks, because hey, let's have a quick diversion here. I just couldn't resist it. I have to show you some other important things that come out of this process. Out of this process, you get your WPD. Surely you remember that. Out of this process, you get your issue log, right? Out of this process, you get your deliverable. You see how powerful this process is. This process is sick. It's on steroids. It's ridiculous. Out of this process, you get change requests. This process is a beast. It's a beast to be reckoned with in the world of the PMI. And hey, on your PMP exam, folks, let me tell you, executing is front and center. What is the glue that binds the processes in executing with everything else? It's this one right here. This is that process that everything in executing revolves around. It's a behemoth of a process. It's ridiculous. And if we're going to go the next step, we'll also say PMPU comes out of here as well. We'll also say PDU comes out of here. Now it's sounding like PDUs that you're earning, but I mean project documents updates, right? So there's a lot of stuff happening here, folks. I mean, this is a massive process, and I just couldn't resist the temptation to show you that there's a lot of stuff happening here. You also have your OPA update. So even though I'm only showing you the tip of the iceberg regarding this process, don't lose sight of the fact that there is actually a lot happening here. There is so much happening here. It's unbelievable. All right. So direct and managed project work gives you deliverables. Let's focus on just the deliverable for this particular sequence. Okay. But in the back of your mind, PMP to B, you remember that there's a ton of things happening here. This is a powerhouse of a process. So we're only using like 4 out of the 64 horsepower engine of this process. All right, so deliverables again goes to control quality. Lily, the lady on the conveyor belt, she's checking it. She says, yeah, we got it right this time. Out comes a verified deliverable. It goes to Billy, Billy the customer, Billy the troublemaking end user who the customer said, test those kites, Billy. I know you're type A, Billy. I know you're going to find out every single kink in this thing, Billy. Don't you love it when you've got someone on the customer's team that breaks that software application every time? You're like, my goodness, why do they have someone like this on the team? You know, I've been that person. I've been that person. It's funny. My boss, he had this, in his head, he would love Phil because Phil is impeccable when it comes to testing, but he would hate Phil because Phil ends up finding one more bug in the software. There's always that person that finds that bug that no one else did. Don't you love those people? But anyway, Billy's that kind of person, and this time he's testing and testing, and he stays up all day and all night, and you know what? The kite actually flies 100 feet in the air. Billy is elated. He's like, boss, we got it right this time. Ends up getting something called an accepted deliverable. Billy signed off on that thing. An accepted deliverable, folks, is documented proof that your deliverable has hit the mark. It means your customer is happy and the world is now a better place because a deliverable that is fit for use, conforming to requirements, and upholds the mantra of customer satisfaction has been met. So that accepted deliverable needs to be transported to our next process, close project or phase, and the big old ribbon cutting ceremony. There's a big old walkthrough. Everyone comes to see the kite that has flown the highest in the past 100 years. There's a big old final product, service, or result transition, and all of the end users of that deliverable come out and they're so happy. We got it. Yay. So, folks, in a more lighthearted fashion, this is what a lot of questions are going to revolve around. A lot of questions. Deliverable, verified deliverable, accepted deliverable. You could get change requests. You need to think about approved change requests. You need to think about your change log. You see? So I call this my 101 breakdown of the PMBOK guide for your exam. But Wait, there's more. We are just about to start the deep dregs of the main line. So let's start off. Okay. Hope you've got some gas to go another 20 minutes here. So the develop project charter process is one that you have seen to be extremely valuable, very useful. Right from the get-go, I broke this down for you and I showed you how the project charter comes out and goes to a bunch of places, right? Well, let's hone in on one very important relationship here. The project charter goes to identify stakeholders, also in initiating, okay? Let's establish that. I know some people already know that, some people may not have realized. This is initiating output to initiating. You get the project charter and it goes to another process in initiating. Now, from identify stakeholders, of course, we've got a stakeholder register that is then going to be labeled as a project document, okay? Don't lose sight of that fact. Now we have the project charter again. I showed you it goes to a bunch of places, but I'm only going to hone in on a few here. Let's hone in on the develop project management plan process. So the project charter goes into develop project management plan. And then the project management plan is an output of develop project management plan. Now remember, the project management plan contains lots of subsidiary plans. That dreaded page that everyone is scared of in the 6th edition, page 89. You love page 89 because it has all of your project management plan components and all of your project documents. You got to know that page, folks. You got to know every single thing that's in your project management plan. All of the subsidiary plans, all of the baselines, and your development approach, and your project lifecycle description. And don't forget the all-inclusive PMBs, time cost scope or schedule cost scope, however you refer to them. Those are captured in the PMB, the performance measurement baseline. All of that stuff is on page 89 of the PMBOK guide. And your 33 project documents that cut across the spectrum. Your stakeholder register is one of those project documents, all right? So just a friendly reminder, if you have not looked up this page, if you have not mastered this page, I want to encourage you to go through it before your exam, far before your exam, hopefully, and make sure you've combed through it. But anyway, going back to what we've got on the screen, the project management plan is an output of developed project management plan. Now, there are some overarching theories that I want to show you about the project management plan. It comes out of developed project management plan. And watch this. It goes to a ton of places. In fact, it goes to all processes in the PMBOK guide, except the 2 blue processes on the screen. The project management plan does not go back into itself, and it does not go into develop project charter. So all processes except develop project charter and develop project management plan will receive the project management plan. In other words, every process that is outside of these 2, the other 47 in the PMBOK guide will receive the project management plan. Even identify stakeholders is included. Remember, I showed you that earlier. So throughout this main line, I'll be showing you lots of other relationships, but I'm not going to show you every single relationship because I've covered it in a one size fits 47. The project management plan goes everywhere in the PMBOK guide except develop project charter and the developed project management plan process itself. All right, boom, I just saved you a ton of time if you didn't know that. All right, now the project management plan, since it goes everywhere except those two, DPC and DPMP, of course it goes to direct and manage project work. It goes to everything else I'm about to show you. But I'll just call your remembrance to these facts just so that you can know them really well and see the flow, because the project management plan needs to be acted upon, and it's by acting on the project management plan that we get our work performance data, right? We're carrying out the plan. As we're carrying out the plan, one of our resources just fell off. Bob on the conveyor belt is not coming in tomorrow. So what? Well, it's a raw observation. It's our work performance data. Bob's not going to be available. But wait, what's that going to do to our project? WPD is not enough. WPD needs to be analyzed. You see, so your train of thought needs to take every single one of these outputs and begin to think, what's the implication in other parts of the project? All right, you get the picture. I just showed you that deliverables come from direct and managed project work. So I've shown you this relationship. Those deliverables are going somewhere. The project management plan is also going to a bunch of places. It's going to monitor and control project work. Now, your project management plan is also going to all non-integration monitoring and controlling processes. So just hold on to these thoughts because I want to show you some very important outputs that will ensue, okay? Your project management plan, of course, is going to control quality because it goes everywhere except those two. Just remember that, okay? Now, the lady on the conveyor belt again, Lily, you saw her in the last slide. She's here again. Now, from control quality, folks, we get work performance information. From control anything, if it's called control something, we're going to get work performance information as well. You see? This is why I call this the main line. I'm trying to make sure that the overarching concepts are ingrained into your mind. So just remember, if it's called control X, then work performance information comes from it. And if it's called monitor X, where X is the name of whatever you're monitoring, work performance information also comes from it. So work performance information is an output of control quality, control schedule, control cost, control scope. See? Monitor communications and monitor stakeholder engagement and monitor risk and control procurement. You see where I'm going with this? There are only two processes in the entire monitoring and controlling spectrum where you do not get work performance information as an output. So let me hone in on this just to make sure we're on the same page. This one right here, work performance information, what I'm saying in effect is work performance information is an output of all monitoring and controlling processes outside of integration. And if you can remember that, it's going to save you a ton of time on your exam. It's going to save you having to cram and memorize. Just remember my overarching rule. Okay. So let's move on from here. So work performance information is one of the sacred cows with a PMI. Very important to remember. From control quality, I've shown you this relationship. Verified deliverables goes to validate scope. This is where Billy was testing the kite. Another important relationship is from all of those non-integration monitoring and controlling processes, change requests is an output of all of them. And change requests are going to be processed in the perform integrated change control process. All change requests go here. In fact, think of it like this. There's only one process in the entire PMBOK guide that change requests is an input to? And the answer is perform integrated change control. Keep that in mind, okay? Now, a very important relationship exists between monitor and control project work and perform integrated change control. Change control board is taking a look at the change request, but they're also interested in the current state of performance. Now, outside of the change request we looked at in our example here with the kite and Billy and Lily, imagine some other firm where a change request has been raised. If the change request is for something that is a nice to have but not that critical, and that nice to have will throw the project off by an additional 2 weeks. If the project is already 2 weeks late, do you think the change control board would entertain that? No, they wouldn't. And there are many other scenarios you can paint where a change control board will reject a change request because the current performance is not satisfactory or the current performance is at risk. For that reason, we have work performance reports as an output of monitor and control project work going into perform integrated change control. Because in some instances, approving the change request is heavily dependent on the current work performance or other parameters documented in work performance reports. Keep that in mind. Now, of course, from direct and managed project work, we have this big old pipeline. I call it the WPD pipeline, and that is fueling all non-integration monitoring and controlling processes. Validate scope, control schedule, control cost, control quality, control resources, monitor communications, monitor risks, control procurement, monitor stakeholder engagement, all those ones. You see, WPD goes into all of them. And it's very important. So again, I am going to circle it just to make sure we remember WPD is a sacred cow of the PMI. Comes out of direct and managed project work, and it goes to all of these guys. All non-integration monitoring and controlling processes. Just to make sure you're in the zone, these processes here include this and this. Okay, just remember that. Just remember that those in green are also included in these non-integration monitoring and controlling processes. Okay. Now, I'm not showing you every single relationship because that could get really chaotic, but I am trying to point out the main line. I call it the main line. Okay. A lot of people over the years have said, Phil, hey, you could have added this and this. And I'm like, hey, the purpose of the main line is not to confuse people. It's to help them see the web of events. And I could go a lot quicker than this, but I'm going very slowly so that everyone is following along. Okay? So the WPD pipeline is very important. The WPD pipeline is fueling all of those non-integration monitoring and controlling processes. So keep that in mind, okay? Now, of course, we know the project management plan, don't lose sight of the fact it's feeding a lot of other things. It's going to be feeding the closed project or phase process as well. So now you see the whole picture coming together. Closed project or phase is also fed the project management plan. Accepted deliverables goes into closed project or phase as you saw previously. Final product, service, or result transition happens. End user test those replicated kites. Everyone is happy. But take a look at this other very important overarching concept in the PMBOK guide. This is the WPI pipeline. The WPI pipeline leads to one process and one process only: monitor and control project work. If you can get it, that work performance data comes from only one process, direct and manage project work, okay, comes from only one process. And if you can get it, that WPI comes from a bunch of places, but it only goes to one process. If you can register that, you're closer to laughing all the way to the score bank on your exam. If you can register these points, folks, you'll be laughing all the way to the score bank. Okay? These are very important to grasp. It might take some repetition, going through it in cycles, but I want you to get to the point where you can reproduce. That's right, take this thing and reproduce it yourself. Someone says, Phil, this is difficult. No, it's not. You saw how easily it fell into place. Watch it a few times, and I guarantee you, you'll be extremely glad you did. Last but not least, don't lose sight of the fact that you get the final report as an output of closed project or phase. And this is a terminal relationship in that the final report comes out of closed project or phase. It's fed to stakeholders. Stakeholders take a look at that report and they can immediately sum up the success of the project, what went down at a high level, and hopefully the world is a better place because stakeholders are happy. All right, so just keep that in mind. Final report comes out of closed project or phase and it goes into the enterprise or the organization. Okay. Now, this final report is worth talking about because we're in closing, which is 7% of the exam. So I'll just break it down for you really quickly. First of all, your final report should have already been defined up front as to what will be in the final report. Okay, the final report, this thing right here that we're looking at, okay, should contain information regarding a description of the project or phase at a high level. What are the main objectives of the project? What were you really trying to achieve? Also, what criteria have been used to ensure that indeed the project has been completed, scope has been satisfied? Also, your quality objectives, quality criteria that have been used to evaluate project success and meeting quality, and ensuring that actual milestone dates were met, any reasons for variances throughout the project for those core milestones, and also the cost objectives. You know, it all boils down at the end of the day to time, cost, scope, quality. It's all about that final confirmation that the triple constraint was satisfied, you know, and any other additional information regarding the final product, service, or result. Last but not least, there should be a summary of how that final deliverable achieved the needs of the business. It's all about those business needs being met. Okay, so you know you've got the business plan, ensuring that those needs identified in the business plan were met. And if they were not met, we need to come clean and say, well, they were not entirely met. There's some business needs that were not entirely met through this deliverable. And also any major risks or issues encountered on the project, those will make their way into the final report. And that, my friends, is the end of the PMBOK Guide mainline conversation that I wanted to have with you guys. Now, why did I put this together to share with you today? I wanted to reemphasize the importance of the mainline as a result of feedback, social media feedback. There's a big old string on social media. If you keep your ear to social media, the likes of the Facebooks and the LinkedIns of this world and the Reddits of this world, you'll be very keen to know that lots of people either praise or gripe about the PMP exam. And if you are a candidate, you want to be on social media trying to understand what are the trends. What are people crying about? And one of the things people cry about is WPD, WPI, WPR, deliverables, verified deliverables, accepted deliverables. So I wanted to help you, my friends, by breaking it down like I did for the 5th edition so that you have clarity on this stuff. All right? So I hope that helped you. If you have any questions about the PMP exam, that's why your buddy Phil's here to answer your questions and give you clarity. So why don't you chat in if there are any questions, closing comments, closing remarks, anything you want to ask me, just feel free to do that right now. And if there are no questions, then I'll just go about my business showing you some powerful information. Those of you getting ready for the exam, perhaps you hit a brick wall like some of the other students I've encountered and they're like, Phil, I've gotten to the sell-by date of my PMP exam education. Some people feel I need a refresh. This PMP exam thing has given me a run for my money. I get that from some students. And if that's the case, I just want to encourage you to look no further. I want you to go to Praizion.com right here on the screen, Praizion.com. If you're looking for a course to help you, just click on training right there and go to the PMP exam prep camp. I'm telling you, this course has gotten a ton of people certified. I mean, people all over the world, those in Saudi, those in Africa, those in India, those in Bahrain, those in the United States, those in Canada, all around the world. They have used this system to ace the PMP exam. So I want to encourage you, hey, if you're looking for a tool, for a system, for some method to the madness, you want to come on board. Hey, don't even waste a minute because this has been put together over a long period of time. At least since 2009, this course has been helping people ace the exam. All right, and it's 35 contact hours of training. Praizion is a registered education provider. As you can see here, we do not play with our student success. We're very passionate and very intentional when it comes to preparing people for the exam. Okay, so please ensure that you sign up for the course if you have been wondering, how am I going to get certified? How am I going to get the training? It's right here. Hey, look, don't waste your money. I'm always preaching this, but I always get the odd student that say, Phil, oh, I'm so mad I didn't know about you earlier. Hey, you know how you can help others? Share this video, paste it on your Twitter, paste it on your Facebook, paste it on LinkedIn. Share this thing with people, man. Sis, bro, what you doing? Share this stuff with people because people ain't gonna know about your buddy Phil if you don't share it. All right, so share this and let people know that these courses exist. Whether you're looking for the power review to boot you into shape really rapidly, but I mean, this is for people who have taken a 35-hour course, or whether you're new to project management and you want to understand the PMBOK guide in layman's terms, right, very quickly, or whether tools and techniques are your issue, or watch this, maybe you are an auditory learner and you want that 20 solid hours of audio instruction in an MP3 download. Boom, we just solved that problem for you. You know, there's some so-called audio trainings out there where they've got a voice talent just reading stuff off a script. That is not the case here. In this, Emily and I, we are dropping gold. We're delivering content that will help you understand the PMBOK guide in a ton of detail, folks. All right, so this is available as well. We've got lots of training aids. All right, so I say all of that to say you have a friend and a colleague in Praizion. You have people that will help you get to your end goal. And we are relentless. You know, PMI comes out with a new bag of tricks. We're going to go into our lab. We're going to find that kryptonite to get even. You know what I'm saying. All right, well, that's it, folks, for tonight. Thank you very much for joining. I think I got a chat in from one of our friends. Rajda says, thanks, Phil, for the lesson. Is there any schedule for these sessions? There are no schedules, I'm afraid, for these sessions. They are pretty much based on inspiration. That's why they are not rote and robotic. They're pretty fresh, you know. So we have sessions for our students who are signed up for our courses, and these typically happen when there is gold to be dropped by one of our alumni. But as far as these sessions on YouTube, there used to be a curriculum and a routine. It used to be Saturdays and Thursdays, but those have gone away. There's a lot that we are trying to frame for the 6th edition. We're still in a lot of development work. So until our development work is done, probably sometime next year, when all of the courses and content in full for all of the different apps and mobile device aids that we're working on are done, we'll develop a steady rhythm for our YouTubers. But the best way to know what's coming, folks, is to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel, and you can be rest assured, except it's something major, most of the time you'll be able to watch this again and again. Such as this video, you'll be able to watch it again and again. There are some live streams, though, that are available only for the duration of the broadcast. But this is not one of those. This will be available after the broadcast. Arif, my man, what is going on, buddy? What is happening? Where have you been? I thought, okay, Arif has gone off and he's gotten certified. You know, so did work get the better of you? What on earth happened? I've been waiting for that email, you telling me you killed Pimpy, but when I didn't get the email, I began to wonder what on earth was happening. But I'm glad to see you. I'm glad you're well, and I know you're a hardworking kind of guy, and you've probably gone into the depth of work. I hope you're keeping it fresh, though, Arif, because you know you were ready to slay the dragon a few months ago. I hope you're still in the zone. Also, Arif, the mock exams. I know I keep bugging you to take those mock exams, but you want to take those mock exams as soon as you possibly can so that you know where you are in the zone and you're able to close those gaps. You know what I mean? You're able to close those gaps in your knowledge. Arif, I was wondering, you weren't on the call yesterday. All right, so you want to log on to the learning management system, Arif. Listen to the gold that Lindsay dropped last night. Go into the LMS when you get a moment. Make sure you catch up and listen to the gold that Lindsay dropped. There's a lot of stuff. In fact, some of the stuff that I'm sharing today, like here, I got inspired to do that as a result of Lindsay's, you know, because our students tell us what was valuable, you know, and I keep hearing from a lot of people that the mainline video for the 5th edition was valuable. And I felt, well, let's do an upgrade. Let's help people see it through a fresh, befitting pair of glasses, and that's why we put this together. All right, so Arif, I am waiting for that email. I know you're going to do it. I know you're going to bring it. I just need you to settle down and tie up all loose ends and load up on ammo one more time and just take Pimpy out eventually. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Those of you who joined today, appreciate you. Appreciate your support. Don't forget, share this video. People need to know about the MAINLINE. The MAINLINE has saved people tons of hours of time, you know, and I got so much feedback about that first video on the 5th edition, so I'm hoping this helps people in the same manner. All right. Thank you all very much. I wish you all the very best. I'm going to go on mute here for 2 minutes. I'm going to come back and check and see if I've got any more chats. If I don't have any more chats, I'm going to close this out. So feel free to chat in if you've got any questions about anything PMI related. Let me ask you a question. How many PMPs exist in the world as of today? Chat into me. I'm going to be back in 2 minutes. All right. What is the precise number of PMPs in the world? It seems like no one knows. Can you give me a ballpark figure? Do you think they're up to 300,000 PMPs in the world, folks? 300,000? It's more than that. How about 400,000? Nope. You want the exact number? You got a pen and paper? All right. Number of PMPs in the world right now is 871,893. That is a boatload of PMPs, folks. My goodness. That number is going to clock 1 million pretty soon. How many CAPMs do you think there are in the world? CAPMs. There are 35,250 CAPMs in the world right now. All right, let's go into some more dismal figures, unfortunately. But it is what it is. How many people do you think are PMI risk management professionals in the world? 4,692. See, the numbers begin to get smaller in these other certifications. That's why the PMP is so powerful, because it's the flagship that everyone goes to. So just compare RMP 4,692, PMP 871,893. It's ridiculous. PMP is powerful, man. I'm telling you. It's here to stay. I know a lot of people get fed up with it and they think it's a cookie cutter mechanism that should be done away with. And I just say, wake up, smell the coffee. It's like going to get a degree, folks. It's just like going to get a degree. You don't battle with ASU or TJU or Pepperdine or Yale. You just wake up, smell the coffee. I want a degree. You go there, you study, you get it, and you don't get any hate for it, right? I don't know why there's so much hate about the PMP. What about the PMI-SP, the scheduling professional exam? How many people are certified? 1,836. Now, one that everybody wants to know about is the ACP. How many ACPs are there in the world? Are there more certified Scrum Masters from the Scrum Alliance, or are there more Agile certified practitioners? Well, at the last count, there were more CSMs, but I'll tell you how many ACPs there are. Right now, there are 21,795 ACP holders in the world. That ain't bad for a certification that didn't start that long ago. Rajtar, thank you very much for your chat. I missed that, but thank you for chatting that in. Yeah, you're in good company, Rajtar. Get the PMP because it's worldwide. It's like plug and play. It's like that common lexicon, that common language. You know, it reminds me of the iPad. I got myself an iPad Mini recently, and I already had an iPad Pro, and trying to set up my Mini, on comes the screen, and it says, "Would you like to use your settings from your existing iPad Pro to set this up?" And it's just plug and play, the touch of a button, and the Mini goes to work and sets itself up just because there's a common lexicon, a common language. That's how the PMP is. It's a plug and play. Wherever you go in the world, wherever there's a PMP, wherever there's a PMI chapter, you're sure you're going to plug and play. It's pretty awesome, pretty awesome. You know, so a few more certifications here. The PMI-PBA, the 2,396 credential holders in the world. The PGMP, the numbers have pretty much evened out. And I think it's because people, they get certified and they don't renew all that. Then you get more people coming on. And so the PGMP, there are 2,290 credential holders in the world at the moment. You see. What about PMI membership? Well, this is comical because if you can relate to this, there are 871,000 plus PMPs in the world. 600,000 of those PMPs are obviously not members of the PMI, maybe even more because there are only 279,000 members of the PMI. Well, chapter membership, yeah, total chapter membership is 279,881. So I might actually be, yes, I'm wrong on that. I knew it couldn't be that bad. Okay, let me rephrase that. So in the actual chapters, every PMI city, every city where the PMPs and PMI members, or close to it, there are chapters. So there are 292 PMI chapters with a total membership of 279,000. But the real number of PMI members in the world is better than that. It's 528 PMI members in the world. 528,053. If there are only 528, heaven help us. So there are 528,053 PMI members in the world. So it's not that bad. So let's say about 200 and something thousand PMPs are potentially not members, but it doesn't always equate like that. I mean, we've got lots of other credential holders. So I'm saying this in jest, but just giving you a rough idea. 528,000 members, 871,000 PMPs plus some, 35,000 CAPMs, 2,000 PGMPs, and of course there are overlaps. But anyway, you get the idea. I thought you might find those statistics a little bit interesting. All right, folks, we've come to the end. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. I wish you all the very best in your prep. Go, go, go. Let's get this thing under control. Let's do it. Let's get this exam off our back. And when it's off your back, folks, that's when the dream begins. That's when you can begin to enjoy the benefits of being a PMP big time. All right. All the best and speak to you again soon.